The focus of today is something we call Teslafaninsight Top Secret. The goal for this show is to figure out how you are supposed to make 500% on a small amount of money this week. And this we're calling it top secret because in general, most folks aren't allowed to tell you how to do this. But because we're top secret and this didn't happen, we can do it. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy our show, would like more information on better investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. We have daily shows for our higher tier folks. We also want to note that this is a copyrighted broadcast. Any information provided here, reuse of any of the descriptions or information provided is a copyright infringement, and you lose your channel if you keep copying us. So I've been trained sort of classically as an investor, as well as sort of non-classically in terms of really going in and getting a chance to trade and see many situations. So what I wanted to start doing is basically a once a week top secret show. Now, why top secret? Because there's something called a bell curve. And the problem with the bell curve is if you teach too fast, all the people who are novices or newbies don't know much, and therefore they get kind of lost quickly. And if you teach too slow, you kind of lose the people at the high end. So you're really trying to find the middle range of what you're discussing or trying to teach. And I'd have to say that this is something that we generally try to do. I generally get a lot of comments because there's a bunch of people who own large amounts of Tesla shares, and they in general drop a note in to say, hey, everybody should stop trying to make money in the short term and only focus on the long-term investing, because that is the best way to go truly, especially if you have a great situation like we do with Tesla currently. The problem though is that about half of our viewership is definitely in this long hold situation with a little bit of options trading. And then we have the other half of the people that are in that, hey, I've got a little money, I'm willing to take some risk to try to make more money. And I kind of feel like this show is more for you. So I have kind of two focuses of the show today. Number one is I wanted to talk about something called a straddle. And then number two, I wanted to talk about how to sort of juice the returns for the folks that are up in the I own a large number of shares zone as we go into this busy period for Tesla coming forward. So I'm kind of choosing to work with our folks first on a general concept called a straddle. So here's how this works. So if you go to Yahoo, Tesla, Yahoo Finance, and then Tesla, you'll notice in the middle of the page there's something that says options. So once you go there, you'll be sort of moving down the page and you'll see all these options at different price points. So the focus point that I want to do today is I'm targeting our friends who have less than $500,000, maybe even less than 100 grand, in terms of how you make money and why we do what's called scalping, or we try to work with Tesla. So let's say that you look up something called a 750 call. Then you look up a 750 put. Now, if on Monday morning or Friday of last week, you had purchased one of each right at the same strike price, okay? What was going to happen on that first day is Tesla's stock price was going to fall by 30 points, right? So guess what? Right around 735-ish, okay, as the stock was plunging, the value of your one put and one call just doubled, even though you lost all your money on your call and you gained a lot of value on that put. So this is why people do straddles. And this is why Tesla is one of the best places to put your money as you're investing, because Tesla has like a 20-point move around for the day. And it only takes about 22 points or so for you to end up wiping out the value of either the put or the call, depending on which way the stock is moving. So how might you have handled this situation, right? The answer in my mind would be, well, wait a second. All you'd have to do is, if we work through the data of the week, you could have said, hey, I've got a put and I've got a call at 750. If you started on Monday, theoretically, you spent about $500 on each. When the stock went all the way down to 720, you could have sold out the put side of that, because the call would be worthless at that point. You could have sold out the put portion of that for somewhere around 4 or 5 times your money, maybe 6, right? Now, in particular, why would you sell this out? Because the market started to recover. The stock recovered to 730 and then started systematically climbing back through. So guess what happened? Because you sold your put and it doubled the value of your money, at least, depending on where you sold out, you're now in a situation where you have a worthless call at 750 that you're holding on to. Why are you holding on to it when it ain't worth nothing? Because the stock is moving quickly, the markets are recovering quickly, and it's worthless anyway, right? So now, as we saw for the end of the week, as Elon made this comment, the stock, instead of blasting back down where it should have been in the high 740s, finishes up at 770. Well, obviously here, if you had sold out your put and now you still had your call, that call value basically tripled. So between your put increasing in value 4 or 5 times, then your call increasing in value 2 or 3 times, you end up with something like a 600 times the money, or 6 times the money you put up. And the way you did this was a technique called a straddle, where you're buying a put, you're buying a call, and you just wait to see what happens. Now, Taleb, in his book, what he talks about is pick a direction, whichever direction you think the stock is going in, and you simply put up some money, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, and wait and see what happens. You're either A, gonna lose everything because you chose one side of the trade, or B, you make a ton because the stock moves aggressively in the direction that you anticipated it would. So what I also talked about is this is like a 1 in 4, for Tesla until the last 2 weeks, it was like a 3 in 4 situation that this would work out favorably if you just played the put call ratio stuff we've talked about in the past. So in general, what I want to suggest in our top secret show, because you're really not supposed to hear this from anybody, is if we go top secret and I know nothing about this, that you actually did a trade like this, and I didn't tell you about this trade, then we're cool. But, I actually, it's called a straddle. You can read about it. It's going to be a big deal for the next few weeks as Tesla starts moving around. And I really think it's something for you to think about as you're going through this period. So I'm going to go and start doing a once a week show in this realm. So next top secret show is going to be next Friday, and then we may air it Friday night or Saturday morning, just depends on once I get it edited and loaded up. And so a straddle, think about a straddle, read about what it is, and start, even if you don't put money up, start trading it to understand what your yield would have been had you executed a straddle for this week. The second thing I wanted to cover today in Top Secret is what I suggest For those of you who are carrying millions of dollars in Tesla stock, I highly encourage you to think about carrying a few puts on a weekly basis, even though you're a long-term holder. Several reasonings behind this. The first is that when you have these sudden drops for no reason like we just had, you could actually make some good money there, writing those puts down, selling them, and because you own the stock, you're hedged. So basically that large number of shares that you have in Tesla is a hedge against owning some puts. So as a crowd, if you have more than 500, 600 shares in Tesla, I really think you want to try an experiment where you're picking up every week, maybe puts that go out a couple of weeks. And I'm not talking about a large amount because I want you to make money for sure. I think you're going to lose money on half of those circumstances, particularly because the stock price is rising. But why do I say this, particularly as we look into last week? Think about this. Remember when the stock fell to 720? If you are carrying puts that gave you a couple of weeks down there, again, you pick up 200 or 300% on your money when it's dropping. And the beauty of it is it's hedging your portfolio because all those shares you own are falling in value and the puts are sort of sopping up some of your losses. And then now, if you chose to sell those puts as the stock was rising again, you make money on the puts that you owned. And as the stock recovers, you're regaining all those dollars that you had lost in the form of the value of the stock rising again. So you win like on every direction possible. In terms of the amount of time I spent, I really sort of focused on thinking about a straddle. I didn't spend as much time going into the how large holders should operate or consider operating, but I really think that where we're at right now, because of how much volatility can occur and the willingness to the market makers to slam the stock down, bring it back up, same thing with the markets, this is a good idea to consider hedging your portfolio on one hand and at the same time making some good money in the process, because those large holdings you have end up being a hedge the other way. So yeah, obviously another route would be to start buying a whole bunch of calls as the stock price fell, but nobody knew how deep this downward draft would end up being, or if there was news that we didn't anticipate that might have forced the stock even to 700 or lower. So another good reason why you want to try to carry a few puts on a regular basis if you have a large portfolio, particularly when we head into heavy news periods, because you can have dramatic move downs where they have to pay you. So I'm gonna, on a top secret basis, try to respond to what I see, but I hope those of you who are introductorily introduced to the trading idea, etc., looking forward to what you have to say. I wonder if you'd do me a favor and just type yes or why after you read this top secret, because I want to make this possibly a weekly, every week we do it to review so that you know what's going on. And if I get a why or a yes, I know that you'd like to see more of this once a week show occur, because we want you to make more money is the goal. So at any rate, just a reminder, we do have some SpaceX shares became available. We also wanted to remind you that we'd like you to like and subscribe, and please join us on Patreon, because I think there's a lot of money that's going to be made as Tesla brings out production numbers, a week or so from now, etc. And I think we want to make sure you know everything possible to optimize your earnings. Next, I want to get into our health tips. I was actually really impressed. One of our viewers mentioned that he tried the don't go to bed within 4-hour eating process and found it to be very successful, which I think is great. So just a reminder, we had an upper respiratory doc mention to us, do not go to bed within 4 hours of eating, minimum 2 hours to let the food digest first, because otherwise you'll get your stomach bile rolling up into your upper respiratory area, potentially causing cancer and other problems. And just because you take Tums or Pepto-Bismol, whatever it is, that only masks the damage symptoms that you have. And so highly recommended you consider this. One other item would be, I'm doing the sugar fast right now, and it's an interesting experience. You might want to consider trying. And then finally, I wanted to note that we have some sound from the ocean sort of at the beginning of underneath each show, but also at the end of the show, as a way to encourage you to consider forest bathing and kind of getting out in nature and enjoying the impact of that on your health and body. So close your eyes and a couple of deep breaths to enjoy some of the ocean sounds that we're providing. A little bit loud, so you might have to turn it down if you need to, but the goal was for you to really embrace the impact of the ocean. So I want to again thank you for joining us. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, German, au revoir, French, Lehithroat, Hebrew, Hoda Hafez, Farsi, Trasvichi, Russian, Ni Hao Ma, Chinese, Kambawa, Japanese, Namaste, Hindi, Salam, Muslim, and Arrivederci, our friends in Italy, Hey Do, our friends in Sweden, G'day, our friends in Australia. And in Jamaica, we say, enough respect, walk good man. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. Bye for now. And we look forward to our next conversation.